Got a quick follow-up to the video I had made last week, offering some free advice and help for those of you that have just been constantly rejected by music libraries over and over again, and you've been doing it the right way, meaning you've been writing specific custom pitches to one company at a time, offering them a full album, obviously treating them with respect, and giving them each about a week or two to respond to you before you move on to another one. So a few of you took me up on that offer, gave me the information that you could give me, and I got back to all of you. And I just wanted to share with the rest of you guys the sort of three main issues that I noticed with the problems with what these composers were facing. And maybe you can use this information to adjust your approach to get better responses or start to get responses from music libraries, okay? Number one of the YouTube subscribers had been submitting his music to a lot of the larger companies, okay? So Universal, APM, BMG, West One Music. There's a lot of these large, very, very huge corporate companies that might even on their website say, we're looking for new composers, we're looking for new music. They might even have a submission email. They might even have a button for you to submit music through. But I'm just telling you guys, the chances of you getting into one of those larger companies is just very small. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I understand why they can't really take on an individual composer. Those kinds of companies usually are looking out for entire catalogs that they want to sign and bring on board and start representing. So to take all the time to get an individual composer on with all the paperwork, metadata, getting the finals delivered exactly how they need them to be delivered, it's a lot of work. And to basically do all that for you, and if you're only bringing them one album, as opposed to them going to a catalog that might have 10 albums or 20 albums, same amount of work about, the same kind of contract negotiation, same amount of communication, but they get a lot more bang for their buck, right? So going to those larger companies, chances are you're just not going to get any responses or any sort of feedback from them, okay? Second issue I noticed, and this is one of these things that you might not even have noticed or thought to check with your approach, but you should after this video. One of the subscribers sent me a link to his website and to the music that he was sending to these companies, and he had also been sort of rejected or just ignored and didn't know, had nothing basically coming back from the libraries. When I visited his website, I clicked play on his player and nothing played. I scrolled down, I refreshed the page, I kept clicking play, nothing was happening. I clicked on pretty much everything I could think of to try to get his music playing. I wrote back to him, I said, hey, I don't know if your website's down right now or something, but I'm clicking play on your music and nothing's coming through. And he said, oh, yeah, you have to click on the actual track title, then the music will start playing. And right off the bat, I just said, all right, that might not seem like a big deal to you, that, you know that all you have to do is click on that track title, but I didn't know that. And who else doesn't know that is all these music libraries that you're sending your music to. They probably are coming to your website, clicking on play, not hearing anything and just going, out of hell with it, I'm moving on with my day. That's as much time as you're probably going to get from these companies. You've got to make it easy for them to listen to your music, to evaluate your music, and to decide if they want to work with you, right? So don't use a player like that, okay? Double check whatever player you're using, whatever streaming platform you're using. Make sure that when somebody clicks on a play button, that's what this one was supposed to do, something plays, right? If it's not playing right when somebody clicks play, don't use that player. I do offer the 1-hour website building tutorial through Wix. I'll link that below in this video. So if you guys don't have a website or a player that you can count on that will play when people click play, just use that tutorial. In 1 hour, you can have a website ready to go. You don't have to design anything. It designs all of that for you, okay? Big deal, right? These little tiny things, though, can make a huge difference. And then the third situation I ran into with one of the subscribers who asked for some help on it is he sent me his music, tell me, he'd basically been approaching them the right way, going to boutique companies, giving them a full album, and basically just definitely trying to work with them on a really, professional level. The music he was making, though, was basically orchestral hip hop. Now, orchestral hip hop is certainly very licensable. The issue with orchestral hip hop is it's very, very saturated. I mean, go to any library essentially and orchestral hip hop is covered. Everybody's got it, especially any library that's going to do like sports placements or anything like that, right? So when I clicked play on his music, I thought, well-produced music, but it kind of sounds sort of down the middle, been done many times before. nothing's really being new or added into the conversation with this type of music. So what I told him, as I said, you obviously do this stuff well, hip hop with orchestral elements, that's great. How can you create a little niche for yourself that's a little unique, a little different, and a little bit more, that stands out much more than just sort of another hip hop album that they could bring on board? Because hip hop, if you guys are not aware, is one of the easier genres to produce. I'm not great at it. I'm just saying that because I know that maybe I shouldn't say easier. That's probably the wrong way to say it. It's just one of the more popular genres in the world, and a lot of people make hip hop. So to stand out as a hip hop producer in the sync licensing business is just a much tougher road, because you can't just come to them with just standard generic hip hop beats or standard generic orchestral hip hop beats, because it's all been done before. And if it's not adding anything really unique or new, chances are they're just like, we've got that. We've already got, 15 albums of that type of music. We don't need another 10, right? So I told this guy, maybe start thinking about adding some world elements. So you get some African instruments in there, some vocals for sure. Definitely getting some vocals on your tracks will make them stand out more. Maybe some Middle Eastern influences, South American. So bringing in a little bit more of a world international appeal to this hip hop orchestral flair that you're doing. I don't hear tons of that in the world, and you can definitely stand out a little bit more with that kind of approach. Then there was actually a final one. One of the members sent me his link, and basically his issue was that his tracks were a little bit all over the place. Like he called them, I forgot exactly how he categorized them, but as I was listening to them, some of them were a little bit slow, kind of romantic, dramatic sort of sounding. Others were really upbeat and funky and fun. And then there was even one that was kind of like a straighter head, upbeat, energetic garage rock sort of a track, which I actually thought that one was the most licensable. But I told him, I said, even though these are all your tracks, these do not all sound like they belong on one album. It sounds like you could put 3 different albums together with what I've heard so far on this playlist. So you definitely need to make sure that you are getting more focused in how you're putting your album together. And for you guys don't know that, if you're going to put together an album for a library, you want it to be, let's say, like one of the ones we actually just did in Sync Academy, one of our licensing opportunities was a funky, fun one. And there are a few different directions you can go with that, but every single track, when you click play on it, should have this kind of like upbeat, fun, putting a skip in your step, just optimistic, joyful, maybe a little bit rambunctious, a little bit carefree. That theme, that emotion, that vibe should be consistent throughout the entire album. So whatever you're going to put together, if you're going to call it, slow, dramatic, romantic music, every single track on your album should be in that direction. If you're going to be upbeat, energetic, and in fierce rock music, every single track should have that tag to it, essentially. But of course, the creativity comes in, and how do you deliver 10 different versions of that in your genre? That's what's really tricky, and that's what you have to make sure that you're constantly, going to some new sounds, some new templates, not going to the same old stuff, because your tracks will start to sound a lot, way too identical to each other. So that's what I got so far from this situation in terms of the feedback or the clarity that can try to help those of you that are constantly, getting rejected and feeling like nobody's listening. Because my theory is, if you're submitting music to more than 5 libraries and nobody's getting back to you or just ignoring you, I wouldn't say 100%. I'd say it's 80 to 90% something you're doing, which is causing that. That's my theory. I really do believe that of my students that get accepted by libraries, especially the ones that get accepted fairly quickly on, in their journey in this business, they're doing things the right way. They're submitting to music to libraries the right way, in a custom, targeted way. They're sending high quality music targeted in a specific genre, a full album of music. And just how they're crafting their emails and how they're interacting with these companies is just a very professional way. And that's what I coach you guys to do in Sync Edge and obviously in Sync Academy. And with Pro Feedback, we help you make sure that your tracks are ready to start being pitched out to some of these libraries. Because one of the members, the one that had the sort of music that was kind of unfocused, that would certainly be one of the points that I would have given him if he was a Pro Feedback member, is that like, well, if you're going to put all these tracks together on one album, this is what you're going to need to make sure things need to be a lot more focused than this. So that's the kind of stuff that we like to do for you guys with Pro Feedback. But hopefully these notes help. I know it's still frustrating, even if you are doing your best and feeling like there's nothing else you can do to improve. Try to always remember there's always something you can do to improve, and there's always something that you can possibly sort of clean up in terms of your approach to these companies. Don't try not to go into the victim mindset of they just don't care about me, or they're just too busy, or I just don't belong here, or they just suck, or whatever. The negativity that can come in really quickly with that kind of a thing. It's tempting, but it really doesn't do you guys any good. So I'm just begging you guys to try to stay positive as much as you possibly can. That's why I try to keep these videos coming to you guys to let you know there's a lot you can actually do to improve your chances of succeeding in this business.